we're going to fire the people who censored. We're going to fire the people who were telling Mark Zuckerberg and all the other technology companies that they needed to censor. All respect to Taylor Swift. I don't think that billionaires endorsing candidates, celebrities endorsing candidates really matters that much. I think that we have to make our pitch to the American people. Women voters want their kids to be able to grow up in safe communities. They want their kids to not be affected by the terrible fentanyl that's coming across the southern border. I mean, I was in Georgia the other day, and these cops showed me fentanyl disguised as child's candy, nerds, like nerds candies, because the cartels are using this to get around our security protocols.
On the subject of censorship, since we're on with Elon, we know what's happening in Brazil.
Sure.
They blocked X. Now they've taken Starlink, to my understanding. Are we going to see any blowback if you and President Trump take office about all of the censorship that happened before?
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg just released that letter saying, "Oh, I fell to victim to the FBI pressuring me to censor." Are we going to see any repercussions for people that censored?
Yes, we're going to fire the people who censored. We're going to fire the people who were telling Mark Zuckerberg and all the other technology companies that they needed to censor. Fire the 50 intelligence operatives who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. A lot of those people still have security clearances. Strip every single one of those people of their security clearances. Fire every single person. You cannot lie. Take your position of public trust and lie to the American people for political purposes. It's disgraceful, and people have to suffer consequences for it. Now, the other thing is we've got to be willing to use American soft power to promote a free speech society. So you talk about Brazil, the leader, I forget exactly which official it was within the European Union, but sent Elon this threatening letter that basically said, we're going to arrest you if you platform Donald Trump, who, by the way, is the likely next president of the United States. So what America should be saying is, if NATO wants us to continue supporting them, and NATO wants us to continue to be a good participant in this military alliance, why don't you respect American values and respect free speech? Excuse me, it's insane that we would support a military alliance if that military alliance isn't going to be pro-free speech. I think we can do both, but we've got to say American power comes with certain strings attached. One of those is respect free speech, especially in our European allies. Like, look, I'm not going to go to some backwoods country and tell them how to live their lives, but European countries should theoretically share American values, especially about some very basic things like free speech.
This is my last question. We're running out of time here. And I talked to a lot of just everyday Americans.
Yeah.
And the one thing that everybody wants me to ask you is childcare costs, healthcare costs.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I just talked to my brother-in-law. He's paying $60,000 a year on childcare and healthcare costs.
Yeah.
And so, Kamala voted against the childcare tax credit.
Yep.
Several years ago.
That's right.
How are you and President Trump going to make healthcare, childcare, these kind of everyday necessities more affordable for everyday American people?
Yeah, so it's funny, man. Kamala Harris says that she now supports the child tax credit. The biggest expansion of child tax credit was when Donald Trump was president, and like you just said, she voted against it. And this is one of the reasons why Trump joked last night at the debate. He joked like she's going to put on a red MAGA hat because every position that she once held, she's running away from, and she's running to Donald Trump's positions because they're smart and because they're popular. But I think it's important, don't believe what Kamala Harris says that she wants to do. Believe what she's actually done and what she's actually failed to do. But on childcare costs, I think there are a couple of things that we got to do here to give Americans more choice. But also, I think if you give them more choice, you can lower costs in the process. So you ask yourself, there's a lot of federal support that goes to childcare, but it's kind of crazy. It only goes to one particular model. And that model is a daycare center that you pay for, which, look, a lot of families want to rely on that model. A lot of families need to rely on that model. I'm not saying we penalize them, but we should allow other families who want to use different things to do that too. Like, for example, let's say that your church wants to have a daycare system set up. A lot of people would prefer to have their daycare also be their church because they know those people, right? They trust those people already if they've already got a relationship through their church. The federal government does not help church-focused daycare centers. They do help a lot of non-church-focused daycare centers. So if you're a nonprofit organization and you are in the community and you want to set up a daycare center, we should not be penalizing you for wanting to do that. You ought to have the same support that everybody else has. Another example of this is let's say, for example, you have an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. They'd like to help you with the kids, but for financial reasons, it's just not possible. There are a lot of ways in which we make it harder for grandparents to play a role in the childcare of their grandchildren. And again, like some people don't have access to grandparents, and that's fine. But if your grandparents are there and want to help, we should be giving them the same supports that we give to external daycare centers. But there's so much federal money, so much taxpayer money that goes to just the daycare center. It should be going to the nonprofits too. It should be going to the churches too. And I think it should be going to the grandparents and the aunts and uncles too. And if you spread out and gave people options, right, gave people more choices, then that means those daycare centers are under less pressure. You have fewer people who are trying to use those resources, so it drives down the cost of all childcare. And it is the craziest federal policy that we basically, and we have these things called child development block grants, and there are other federal programs, and it subsidizes one model of childcare. Give Americans choice. Let them do what they want to do, and I think that will lower the cost of childcare for a lot of American families.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
If I could, I have one more question to pop in.
Absolutely, man.
I asked President Trump this when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and I said that I thought that the most challenging part of your campaign was the women vote.
Yeah, sure.
How are you guys going to win over the women vote? I mean, Taylor Swift just came out last night.
I saw that.
Endorsed Kamala.
Well, look, all respect to Taylor Swift. I don't think that billionaires endorsing candidates, celebrities endorsing candidates really matters that much. I think that we have to make our pitch to the American people. And in particular, there are issues that affect all Americans, but I think affect women voters in particular. So public safety, right? Women voters want their kids to be able to grow up in safe communities. They want their kids to not be affected by the terrible fentanyl that's coming across the southern border. I mean, I was in Georgia the other day, and these cops showed me fentanyl disguised as child's candy, nerds candies, because the cartels are using this to get around our security protocols. But what happens when you're a mom and your kid picks up a packet of candy on the playground and it kills them because they ate a piece of candy and it happened to be fentanyl that a cartel had brought into our communities? Or, let's say you're a single woman and you want to ride the New York subway, or you want to walk through Central Park in public safety, but Kamala Harris has allowed millions of criminal migrants to take control of your communities. I think our message to single women, to married women is, we want you to grow up in safety and security, and we're going to pursue policies that make it easier for you to walk around the street in your own country and feel safe and secure. Whether you've got kids, whether it's just you and your family deserve to be safe and secure, and that's something Kamala Harris has taken from you. And I think if we make it about policy and how our policies make communities safer, then I think we win on that argument. And I think we're gonna get a lot of women voters to come on to our side. Another issue, right? We know this in reality. I've been told that about 70% of the grocery shopping in this country is done by women, okay? So I like to go to the grocery store. In our family, I do more of the grocery shopping than my wife, but I think most families, the wife tends to do more of the grocery shopping. Okay, so they're affected by the rise in food. And they're affected by the fact that a lot of young people can't afford to buy a home, right? A lot of young women would like to buy a home, and they can't do it because of Kamala Harris's policy. So I think if we hammer home the message that you can't buy a home, you can't buy groceries, you can't afford to turn on the heat at night because Kamala Harris has made food, energy, and housing more expensive, then I think that will have a special appeal to women voters too. Again, it affects everybody, but it maybe affects women a little bit more.
Thank you for clarifying.
Of course.
Well, Mr. Vance, I just want to say that I'm a former SEAL and CIA contractor. I have a lot of colleagues that I keep in touch with who are still in and out. Everybody is behind you guys, including me. I wish you the best of luck. And I have one more thing to say. Not everybody's going to vote. So if you are going to vote, go drag a buddy out.
That's exactly right.
Get him to vote. And that's how we win this thing.
That's how we win this thing. Thanks, man.
God bless.
Good to see you. God bless you.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like,
comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.